Welcome to Bulls and Red. Today we're going to look back at the game versus Frankfurt and ask ourselves, now is this the turning point? And we're looking forward to our trip to Kiel. And Richard probably has a cunning plan how to get the 3 points. So welcome to Bulls and Red. And a warm welcome to Bulls and Red, your and our RB Leipzig podcast in English. We're at home in Leipzig, and this podcast is made for you wherever you are on this planet. Now, we're still trying to recover from Wednesday's match. You know, Eintracht Frankfurt, we were playing them in the DFB Pokal. And guess what? We progressed to the next round. But I must tell you, before the match, the mood was completely different. If I talk about myself and Richard, we were, as you could take from the last episode, not so over-optimistic. And our neighbors that live here as well, they actually were now pretty pessimistic as well. And I felt sick to the stomach. I never felt like that before in a long time. And I had the impression that RB Leipzig was playing in the third tier, and they welcomed a top team from the first tier from the Bundesliga. And this match would be, well, we might score, probably not. And hopefully nobody would get injured because, you know, it was getting rather small, those numbers who Marco Rose could send on the pitch. But we would definitely lose. And also the mood before the match was kind of strange because the media popped up with articles about potential replacements for Marco Rose, but they contradicted themselves. Some talked about Roger Schmidt, some talked about Ten Hag, but none of them had any truth in them, I suppose. So everybody was kind of wondering. So that Wednesday was really cool because I met Richard in the stadium. Richard, how are you tonight?
Well, still fine, thank you.
Of course. So I would like to play you a little clip because I interviewed Richard before the match. And just listen to that. I think it's really interesting.
So, welcome to the RB Arena. It's, 20 minutes prior to kickoff. And Richard, I need to ask you, how was your Christmas party?
It was well relaxed because almost no one was there. Only like 20 people out of, I don't know, could have been 60 if all would have joined. But anyway, yeah, the meal was tasty, beer was cold, so I'm good, thank you.
So they had alcohol, so that was good. Now, how do you feel before that game today? Especially, you know, after Saturday's performance. What do you think is going to happen today?
Well, you know, there's two voices inside of me, and one is the head, and the other one is the heart. And my head tells me, okay, we ain't got a choice tonight. It's going to be very likely a 3-0, 4-0 defeat because Frankfurt is extremely good at the moment. When my heart tells me we're going to take the win here, an ugly win, and we're going to win it in penalty shootout after 120 minutes of pure fight.
Pure fight, and maybe it's going to take until tomorrow. But to be honest, I never felt so sick before a match. Today I feel really low, but you never know. Der Pokal hat seine eigenen Gesetze. You know, the cup competition has its own law, so maybe that's going to be the chance. Anyway, I can see you need to leave. I'll touch base with you again at halftime. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
All right, see ya.
And we didn't meet up at halftime because first half was really surprising. But Richard, I felt really low, but I felt relaxed. And you know why I felt relaxed? Because my expectation was really low, almost in the minus area. What do you remember about that?
Well, yeah, mine almost the same. Although I told you that I was, rooting for a home win, of course. But as soon as the game starts and I watched the people on lads play, and I was like, okay, we are the underdog in that match, and if you are the underdog, play like an underdog. And that's what our lads did. You know, they did not try to do something special, something sophisticated. Just play the easy ball, go with everything we have, and every duel, go for every ball. And if you recover the ball, play the quick game. And that's what happened, and it worked out perfectly. And, you know, I have some numbers for you. Only 36% ball possession. It's very low.
I know.
Only 338 pass attempts. It's a season low. 262 only completed, 77% pass percentage. It's the lowest number this season and most likely one of the lowest numbers ever. But on the other hand side, Frankfurt was harmless that night, wasn't they? I never had the feeling at any point of the game that they could start something, because our lads was so awake, so on fire, and put in relentless effort in every second. And yeah, the scene of the match to me was after the 3-0, the finally game-winning goal, because to that point in that game, I did not expect Frankfurt to come back down like this. And every lad, besides I think it was Baumgartner, but every other lad was storming towards Marco Rose and hugging and clapping their hands and clapping their shoulders. And that was a wonderful signal so that everyone could see that there's still life in this team and that the coach is still part of it.
And I like to point to that as well with the scene that happened after the match, and which you can also see on the socials if you follow us. Now, before the match, I'll take you back before the match, because the Eintracht fans came out in big numbers, and you would suspect that. They filled up the away section very, very nicely. I think about 5,500 must have been really filled that. And that's in the middle of the week. And from Frankfurt, you need about 4.5 hours to get to Leipzig. Now, in American terms, that's nothing. In Germany, it is a middle-range distance. And they were so confident that they chanted Auswärtssieg before the match. Which is the equivalent of away win. Now that clip was stolen from the last match when they played here. Before that, they did win. And I thought, okay, this is uber confident. But as I mentioned before, our expectation was so low that when the game started, we were just happy that the team was fighting. And they looked different to Saturday's performance. All of a sudden, this looked like football. But I was always kind of wondering, okay, 2 minutes passed, 5 minutes passed, 10 minutes passed. When is Eintracht Frankfurt going to start playing ball? When are these Etiquettes and the Marouche would actually start playing? And the Götzes? Nothing happened. That was really interesting. And the focus and concentration in RB Leipzig team was so high. And remember when they scored twice and it was offside? Well, the first time we celebrated like it was a goal. And even when we realized that it didn't count, we just celebrated anyway. And you know what it was? It was our low expectation. And we were just happy to celebrate something, especially when you come off that 1-5 derailment from Saturday. We were just happy to celebrate every win, every ball they won, every pass they did, and how they connected, how they were fighting. And I think the whole stadium was a lot more energetic than when we played Wolfsburg. There were less spectators in the stadium this time. There were more gaps, but the people who were there, they were dedicated. They were supportive. And this is what I prefer. And when Šeško finally scored, and it counted, and I couldn't believe it, so I waited. And he really hadn't, in my eyes, his performance wasn't that great up to that point, but he was fighting. And then he got the ball and he just tanked his way through, and he scored. And it was wonderful. And it was such relief. But still, during halftime, I wasn't really sure what's going to happen in the second half. And I talked to one of the Frankfurt supporters, because you must know the RB Arena in Leipzig is a friendly place, even to away fans. So they can sit amongst us wearing their merc. Nothing is happening. Okay, in certain areas they shouldn't, but nothing is happening. There's no animosity. And I talked to this guy, and he was originally outside from Frankfurt, 43 miles away from Frankfurt. And he couldn't believe it that Eintracht Frankfurt didn't seem to have any means to counterattack that or to counter what RB Leipzig was playing. But he suspected that they would improve in the second half. Maybe he's still waiting for the next match in 2 weeks. I don't know. So in the second half, I couldn't believe that it was getting better and better and better. And that moment when Goalbender, when he scored the first time after the brilliant pass from Nusa, and the way Nusa went through the byline to the byline and passed the ball and he just chipped it in. That was such a relief. But still, 2-0, anything could still happen. But that super strike, that beam that went into the goal in the upper corner, that was just unbelievable. And that moment when the whole team ran towards Marco Rose, and that was pretty much in front of us, wasn't it? Because we were sitting behind that bench. that was just super emotional. That was just unbelievable. And that showed to me there is a unity. Not only Marco Rose is able to get to the locker room, to the people, you can talk to the team is responding. And something must have happened that the team was able to play that way. And Marco Rose explained in the press conference afterwards that one of his video scouts said, okay, if your back is to the wall, then the good thing is there's only one direction. Charge ahead. It's the only way you can go. And that's what they've done. And I do hope that they keep this up. And there is no glee, I think, from our side. No glee towards the Frankfurt fans. We're just so relieved that RB Leipzig was able to, the team and the coach was able to turn this around. And I'd like to come back to that scene that I explained in the beginning, because after the match, the team went around the stadium and said goodbye to the sections like they do. Even when they lose, they come around like this as well. And they end up at the home supporters end. And the whole crowd was there, and even Marco Rose again. But he was sort of in the background. And the crowd started chanting his name, Marco Rose, which I found really, really striking and really good. And it showed a lot of love and support. And then one of his players grabbed him, and I think it was Haidar, but I can't see it anymore because my camera's not that great. And he just pulled him and pushed him to the front. And of course, Marco Rose clapped and he thanked the crowd, but he also pointed to the team. So I think there is a real unity. I just hope they can keep it up. And that just makes me hopeful when the big guns are coming back. You know, the Xavis and all the others. Hopefully they still know how to play football. Then it should get better. But make no mistake, the next few weeks are still going to be tough. Well, it's going to be Kiel Saturday. Villans coming along next week. And I don't know how you're going to handle this, because I'm not sure with 9 points, if you do dare to win this, would you actually progress to the playoffs? And then I presume at some point we're going to face Bayern München. So it's still hard. And the first point and the most important point is going to be the next game in Kiel. But one more thing I like to mention, which was funny as well. When I left the stadium, I heard the crowd chanting, Berlin, Berlin, wir fahren. It's a bit early because it's the quarterfinals, but hey, you can always dream. But Richard, I'm glad we were there. We were there on Saturday when we got thrashed, and we were there when we progressed to the next round in style. And one more thing. If Silva almost scores, you know the performance was pretty good. No? Oh, I got one question for you. I do have one question for you. I made a note. Now I know Openda was the man of the match. But who was your unsung hero?
Antonio Nusa, obviously.
Okay.
Obviously. And, Goaltender scored twice, and that's the reason why he is voted to the man of the match, of course. And he fought his ass off as well, as everyone. But Nusa was so aware and so clever and so unselfish. You know, he was a team player in every second of that match, and he fulfilled his duties in the defensively and was so alert all the time offensively. And he had this very special steal right in front of the 3-0 when he just stole the ball from the Frankfurt player. I don't know who was the guy who was just not aware in that moment that Nusa could have sprinted towards him.
A Frankfurt guy.
some random Frankfurt guy. And then Nusa passed the ball to Openda, and then, you know, there was this just little moments in some games when everything went into your favor because they were 3-3, and there was a huge open pass line, and Openda has to pass the ball. There is no discussion. He has to pass the ball to Šeško, and then Šeško got a point-blank range from like 10-12 meters away, and could have scored in a very higher percentage. But in that particular night, and then sometimes these balls go in, and then we had this beautiful scene we talked about afterwards. So, well, yes, thank you, Mr. Goaltender, and thank you, Antonio Nusa. What a guy. We are so lucky that he is available and can replace Xavi, not every time, but more often.
Yeah.
More often.
Don't forget, he's so young. He is so young. There is so much more in him. But I got to ask you one more question. Come on. Are you now a Niklas Seiwald fan? Maybe a little bit more?
Okay, my belief and my dedication into his didn't shrink.
My God.
And it's the best I can tell you.
What else is he supposed to do? I mean, I think he did a brilliant job.
I think
as a defender.
he was okay. It was solid, but if Orban, it was Orban who cleared all the dangerous moments and Seibert not. So he didn't have a really chance to make a statement. Okay, so maybe that's why I'm not that excited. You think he was brilliant? Okay, that's fine. I'm fine with that. But to me, it was performance you can expect and nothing more.
Niklas, keep on trying. Although Richard said, he wants you to be your fan. He wants to be your fan, and it's not that easy. No, he said it's not that hard to make him your fan. Obviously, it is not. It's slightly more difficult than that.
45 good minutes would have been enough. Okay.
Just one more story. When we walked home, we met a group of fans we had met after the Wolfsburg game. And that was so funny because we'd never met before. And after the Wolfsburg game, all of us just talked and we got really worked up about the game and some players. And we got really angry at some point. And then we just kept on laughing because he couldn't change anything. Of course, the mood this time was a lot different. There was a lot more joy. We couldn't believe it because the sentiment before the match was similar to what we felt, when we felt really low and almost sick to the stomach and we have no chance. And all of us just couldn't believe it. What a night. I'm so glad we were there. I'm just hoping that they can continue this form. So, Richard, is it okay if we move on and talk about our next opponent?
Introducing our next opponent, their Gegnercheck.
Holstein Kiel.
How long did you work for that?
I'm a spontaneous guy. Strength is.
What does Holstein mean?
It's a wooden leg.
Yeah, and why is that funny?
Because it's from an old German movie, Werner. Werner Beinhardt is from that famous German movie from 1991, 92. And and there's
it's like yesterday.
It's like a comic strip when a football match happened on the market.
You had to be there to understand this. I'm so sorry.
And the announcer always says Holstein Kiel. So, okay. Holstein Kiel is now opponent on Saturday. The newest addition in the Bundesliga.
Mm-hmm.
So never promoted before. So their very first season, congratulations. And they did all the way we did from the 4th tier. So we played them 4 times already. It was back then when we played Regionalliga and 3rd League. And it took them a little bit longer, but to be honest, this is a smaller city. They ain't got that much sponsors, that much money. And I think they did a really, really good job to fulfill all this. So they built a new stadium. Yeah, yes, Mario?
But you said they haven't got many sponsors. I think those sponsors went to that famous handball club of this THW Kiel, who's many times German champions, Champions League champions. And that was always the sport number 1. And it took Holstein Kiel just quite a long time to get up to that point as well. And it's probably fair to say that they're still kind of split, although football is more popular, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. They all know. I think they got 23,000 spectators week after week in their stadium, and it's quite good for just a small city like Kiel in the Baltic Sea. And I have some feelings about this club because in my memory, this is one of the first rivals, maybe the first rival.
Oh,
so I felt it was a rival. Because especially in the second Regionalliga season back in 2011 and 12, I was involved in the race for the promotion until the last match. And we lost there on week 30 with a 1-0 in a must-win game if we wanted to maintain promotion possibility back in those days. And so we lost 1-0, and that means that Hallischer FC was 6 or 7 points clear after that match. So with only 4 games to play, there wasn't much more space to maneuver. And finally, we all know how this ended. We needed another season in the Regionalliga and then go into Lotte and so on. Villans, yes. And there was, in addition to that, in the season prior, I think it was the 2010-2011 season, there was a devastating home loss. And it was the last time we lost 1-5, until Saturday, of course. And I remember one man, Mark Heider, a long-time striker for Holstein Kiel, and he scored 3 of those 5 goals and had 2 assists. And it has the night of his career. And then it was taken off, and it was the first time ever that I clapped honestly, with an honest feeling of appreciation to an opponent's player.
Okay.
Because it was so strong that night. I won't ever forget that. So, but this is long time ago, and I think Mark Heider is now the assistant coach at Sportfreunde Lotte and not around at Kiel anymore. And all the other lads that are with Kiel now are basically second Bundesliga players. So they didn't have a really strong player, a really leader, or someone that stands above everyone. So this is a very average, not average. It's an average squad, yes, but that wasn't what I want to tell you. Could you help me out? I want to say that there's nothing, no special player in this unit.
Is there probably cohesion in the team because all the players are at a certain same level?
Yeah, okay, you can argue that. That's okay. Yes,
I wanted to use the word cohesion again.
So now you did. Okay, so a team with a very high level of cohesion. And so they had only one win in the very first 12 matches they played. It was week 9 versus Heidenheim, and it was their lonely win in the last 7 matches. They lost 6 of them. And yes, they are really struggling. And to be honest, this is just not on Bundesliga level. Some interesting names are on their squad. First of all, there's number 10, Louis Holtby. Yes, 34-year-old.
Could have played for England.
Yes, but yeah, he only could have played for England if there wasn't like 130 players not available.
Don't be disrespectful now. Come on, he played for Germany.
I'm just telling the truth.
What does that say? He played for Germany.
I never played.
Did he not?
No, he did not. Because even in Germany, we get like 40, 50 players. Okay, that's a different story. But back then, he was part of the so-called Bruchweg boys. Do you remember? When he was in Mainz, the 2010-2011
I don't remember
season.
him. Oh, he was really good, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. And that was the nickname came from. And the Mainz finished 5th in that season. And with him in the squad, by the way, was André Schürrle. And
he
was 19
that
years
guy.
old. Yeah. And Adam Solai. And there was some really young guns.
Good names.
That was really, really good in that season and finished 5th. Another one that at least received some nationwide attention a few years ago when he transferred to Bayern Munich is their number 24, Jan Fiete Arp.
Yeah, wasn't he that great talent that was supposed to be better than anybody?
Yeah, that
but
was
definitely better than Felix Magath,
It was at least as good as Felix Magath and Uwe Seeler and Franz Beckenbauer.
But what happened to him? Because I remember he transferred to Bayern, never really played.
Never played any game for Bayern. He played only for the second squad from Bayern Munich in the 3rd league. And even there, he wasn't a regular starter.
Wow.
So obviously, huge amount of talent, but yeah, not available to show it on the pitch.
Okay.
There's some parallels I can see here to Louis Holtby. Because he was a talent too, and he made one step further because he played on that Royal Island, as you used to say, for Tottenham and Fulham, but he never reached that upper tier, that Premier League upper tier level player, and so he had to return to Germany. I think he joined.
Didn't he play for HSV?
Yeah, and he was with HSV, and and then back to Blackburn, I think, in the Championship, and from there to Holstein Kiel.
Yeah, why do you want to play for Blackburn? Come on.
Yeah, and Jan Fiete Arp in Kiel with Holtby, interestingly, 2021, he transferred from Bayern back. But as I said, he never played one match in the Bundesliga for Bayern. And in the third name I saw here is number 7, Steven Skripski, 32-year-old offensive player. Which club comes into your mind when you hear this name, Steven Skripski?
His name kind of rings a bell, but not the club.
Not a club?
Give me a hint. Come on, I love those trivials. Could be Advent calendar.
Yeah, it's our beloved club from the capital.
East or West?
East, but I love the GDR.
Okay.
So, but it's interesting because most of his career he spent with Union Berlin, and this is correct. And I think this is the reason why Union Berlin is the first club that comes into my mind when I think about him. But actually, he never played for the club in the Bundesliga.
Okay.
So this is kind of strange. Because obviously we only played versus Union Berlin when he was there, when we were a second tier. And after his stint with Union Berlin, I think he transferred to Schalke and to Düsseldorf and played some seasons for Schalke in the first league, and then went back to the second Bundesliga and joined Die Störche in Kiel as well, 2021. So, what can we expect on Saturday
Okay, one
afternoon?
more question.
Yeah.
Their squad, I think they have a few injuries, which affects their defenders, doesn't it?
Yes, it's true. They're running out of defenders. Their regular
Sounds
starter
familiar.
number... Yeah, sounds familiar, right? Their regular starter number 17, Timo Becker, started all 12 matches and is out now. Their number 4, Patrick Eras, out since week 11. And the newest addition who is not available on Saturday is Marko Komenda, a Croatian guy, who is more rotational player, but anyway, this time not around. And so they're running out of center backs.
Oops.
They got a few cornerbacks, so left and right backs left, but it's reported that the coach has to solve a puzzle here to put everyone in a position who is at least a little bit familiar with. So, I think that should help a little bit. And to be honest, I ain't got much more to say about this club. I think we have to, if we want to win there, we have to try to do the same thing as we did on Wednesday. Play some kind of underdog football. It's going to be a much harder task because Holstein Kiel is not a squad that tries to play the ball possession game for the whole 90 minutes. Sure, they're at home. I think there will be phases when they're trying to dominate us. And I think this is crucial that we play the quick game in those rare opportunities that will come on counterattacks. Don't try anything sophisticated. Don't try anything special. And do not read in tackles at all. Take on the fight, keep fighting, and then take us home. A 2-0 victory. Come on.
Who said Country Road? 2-0 victory. And please, I mean, you've done this better on Wednesday. If you get the go-ahead goal, if you are in the lead, don't stop playing. Just continue. Because that was my fear on Wednesday. But they took a step back at times and they kind of defended very, very closely. But they still went along and scored a second and a third goal. So it's going to be a tough one, but I can't help it, but I feel more confident. Ooh.
No, I just wanted to add maybe some purpose that was on the pitch because there's those famous words. I think that came from Wayne Gretzky, who once said, "You miss every shot you don't take," and then when I read how low the number of passes was that we played, it was like, okay, every pass you do not play is not a misdirected pass.
True.
Okay, so you just shrink the number of mistakes you can possibly do, and if you do this again at Kiel, okay, so like 2, 3, 4, 5 passes not misdirected will keep you a lot of energy. You don't have to sprint that much backwards. Maybe it could have been a good purpose for Saturday. So.
But who's Marco Rose going to send out?
Liebe Fußballfans, wir kommen jetzt zu unserer heutigen Mannschaftsaufstellung.
Still, last 11 men standing. Okay, Gulaschi is turning back. Marco Rose said that today in the press conference. I watched it and said, okay, there's no doubt Gulaschi is going back into the goal. I think he will very likely show us again this 3-5-2 formation because it worked pretty well that night, Wednesday. So we will see Orban, Seiwald and Ratreda as their center backs, alongside then Henrichs, Nusa on the sides of the midfield, center midfield, and Baumgartner, Vermeeren and Haidara. Campbell, very likely not available. He has some issues with his foot, and it seems that it doesn't fit into his cleats. It will take a few more days, of course. And our striking department, Shesko and Nependa. On the one hand side, no one else is left. On the other hand side, still our best opportunities.
True. Okay. What do you expect in terms of scoreline?
We're going to take a 2-0.
I'll go with a 2-0 as well. Gotta be. You need the 3 points at that point. Great. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. Everyone else, keep your fingers crossed and keep supporting RB Leipzig wherever you are. I'm sure the positive energy will transfer through. Thank you, Richard. This has been Bulls and Red, our RB Leipzig podcast, made in Leipzig, at home in Leipzig, and made for you wherever you are. Follow us on our socials, and you can get in touch with us via email. Email address is podcast@bullsandred.com. We're going to come back to you early next week because there's going to be this Champions League encounter with the boys from Birmingham. And all we need to say now is thank you very much for listening. Keep checking out our advent calendar as well. That's much appreciated as well. And let's conclude with Danke Richard. Thank you. Auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs!